Hey, so with the upcoming release of the new James Gunn Superman movie, I'm doing a review series for all of the Superman movies that have come before. And right now, we're going to be on the second entry. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, the music. And for context, this is the 1975 ABC special. Um, I looked for a while and I could not find anything on the 1966 original version. There is a cast recording online, but as far as like an actual full musical, the closest I could find was both the 1975 version that was on ABC, and then there was I believe, a version that was filmed in 2018. I have not seen the 2018 version yet, um, but yeah, this review is going to be solely based off of the 1975 ABC version, the TV special. But yeah, overall, this was a very interesting watch for sure. Uh, in the right context, I could actually see somebody actually having a lot of fun with this musical special because it does have its own certain kind of charm to an extent. Um, it's it's before the Christopher Reeve Superman movies in 1978 and beyond. So like there, it's still in that era of it has more of a flavor akin to the Adam West Batman TV series from 1966. It has kind of more of that kind of like it's a little bit campier, a little bit cheesier, um, which in certain areas is charming, and in certain areas is like, okay, that was a choice. Um, the only actress that I think really kind of has any kind of standout in this as someone like, okay, I enjoyed the performance, and like I wouldn't have mind seeing more of this actress in this role and seeing it expanded, is Leslie Ann Warren plays this version of Lois Lane, and overall I think she does a well enough job where um, she's a little bit on kind of like a little bit of a ditzier kind of almost borderline kind of like airhead simplified version of Lois Lane. But just the presence she brings on screen is like she's an enjoyable version of Lois Lane that is there's a few scenes there where she actually has some interesting moments, and it's not horrible to watch. um, there is this running gag with her that gets a little bit old at like the fifth time, to where it's like, "Oh, Clark, were you there?" And it's literally framed in a position to where you have like uh, Lois and Clark are sitting in like the office of the Daily Planet together, and they're doing work, and Clark will say something, and all of a sudden she'll look up and go, "Oh, Clark, were you there the whole time?" It was cute the first two times, kind of the third time. It gets repeated like 7, 8 times in the special. Of like they think it's like a gold mine of comedy, that little bit right there, and like, yeah. Um, do not care for this version of Superman really. The Superman we get in this is, in my opinion, far too cocky and overconfident and arrogant. Of like, well, yeah, I'm Superman. Of course, I'm gonna fix everything. Like, why would you expect anything less of Superman? And like, there's like literally like an entire song segment. One of the songs is like, Why You Don't Mess with Superman, and it's exactly what it sounds like by the premise. It's a song where like it's just like the whole musical number is just Superman takes down a whole bunch of goons, and the entire time is like basically like mocking and berating them, like, oh, like, like, what did you think was gonna happen? You're attacking Superman. Like, and for me personally, like, when it comes to Superman, I don't really like a cocky, arrogant, overconfident Superman. Um, it just kind of sours the opinion in my sours the character in my opinion a little bit. Um, and likewise, you then get a plot line later on in the movie to where like the whole plot of the movie is to you want to make Superman basically defeat himself by making him so sad and bummed out that he starts to doubt himself. And you literally have this whole segment where there's like a probably like about like a 10 15ish minute segment that is just the city of Metropolis, just being extremely cruel and mean spirited towards Superman. And you get a very whiny Superman who is just every time he's on screen, he's just crying, he's whining. He's, like, oh, like, even the Man of Steel can cry. Like, yeah, he becomes very, whiny, pouty, and it's like. So, for this version of Superman, really, we get the only thing we get is we get arrogant, overconfident, and cocky, or we get whiny, crybaby, pouty, like just crybaby Superman. And there's nothing really in the middle of to where like, okay, like this isn't a Superman that I enjoy watching really at all. Like, and it's got this really bizarre, like, kind of like framing device to where it's like split up into chapters, and it's framed almost kind of like the old like 1940s serials, to where it'll have like like the announcer guy, like that, like at the end of each of those segments, like because it was released in chapters, it would be like like the announcer being like, "Will Superman make it in time to defuse the bomb?" And because it was a cliffhanger that was like, okay, yeah, you need to make sure that you come back for the next chapter in the serial to find out, okay, Superman, yes, he does defuse the bomb. But it's a cliffhanger at the end of that serial chapter to, be like, okay, hey, you know, like, it gives you more of a reason to come back and finish out the serial. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, oh man, there's a bomb. Is Superman got defused it time? Like, oh, hey, cool. I need to make sure I need to watch the second part. But the way they do it in the TV special is they'll literally do this segment to where it's like an hour and a half TV special, and maybe there were commercials during the actual special itself, which might have helped a little bit. I watched it on YouTube, and there were no commercials added in. I think they might have been edited out. But let's say, for argument's sake, that there were commercials in the original airing. Watching it now, it basically plays off as just like almost comical to an extent, to where like it will be like it literally has like like segments to where they'll do that thing to where it's like, will Superman make it to City Hall in time to defuse the bomb? Chapter 8, Superman makes it in time. And it's like, you just asked me like 3 seconds ago he's gonna make it in time to defuse the bomb. Like, oh man, that's kind of tense. and then like 3 seconds later, you add a you add the title card of Superman defuses the bomb or Superman makes it in time, and pretty much every chapter is handled that way. To where like you will have like this. It's each chapter ends in a segment that is kind of like where it feels like they're trying to emulate the like old like 1940s comic serials, but at the same time, it feels like they're not really getting the whole point of that. And like in the special, it just comes off as weird because it's just like, yeah, it's cool that you put it in chapters, but like if you're gonna do that, like at least like name the chapters something different, to where like you're not immediately answering the question you just asked. And like I don't know quite how much like any of the serials did the same thing of like if they ended off with like certain segments and then like the opening segment of the next thing was literally just like the most basic ass like name for like that next chapter. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the old serials. Um, I the most that I know is that I believe that they did serials for Superman, Captain America, Shazam back when he was Captain Marvel, and then they did 2 serial runs of Batman, where it was Batman and then it was Batman and Robin. And apart from stuff like Zorro and stuff and like the Phantom, I don't think there was anything else major by Marvel or DC about those. But yeah, that's just a little like aside of like, yeah. But overall, this is, and there's also like this evil mad scientist character of Dr. Sedgwick that is just like is as over the top as can be, to the point to where like he'll actually like talk directly to the camera, and it's like, okay, so is he deliberately trying to talk to the audience? Like, is he aware that there's like an audience watching him in this scenario? Or is he just insane and in his mind he's like talking to a wall because he needs somebody to actually listen to? It gets really weird of like, what exactly are you trying to do with this mad scientist character? And you have this other villain character that is his name is Max Minkin. I don't know if Max Minkin is a character from DC Comics, but the way he's portrayed in this very much feels like like it feels like a plot that Lex Luthor would have. And so like it's just like it would make probably more sense to have Lex Luthor, but instead you just have this random guy. So you have mad scientists, you have discount Lex Luthor, and you have like a mob boss with a bunch of gangsters, like 2 or 3 gangsters. They're kind of like the henchmen, and those are your villains, or those characters right here. And yeah, like there's just, as far as the villains go, like Dr. Sedgwick has some interesting moments to him. Max is take it or leave it. Like, I mean, there's nothing I can really say too negative about him. Like, he's self-conceited enough to be interesting to an extent, but there's not really a whole lot there to be like, okay, well, this is a compelling villain. I like what he did. But yeah, overall, this is a fine enough musical featuring Superman. It's going to be the only musical on this list. And I actually debated briefly about whether or not it should be included in the ranking, just because of like you have like a really massive list of, off the top of my head, I believe it's 35 entries, 34, 35 once you get to Superman 2025. And the majority of it is a bunch of live action and animated movies. And then interspersed between there, you have three different documentaries, and there's one musical. And I debated putting it in there, but like it's like, you know what? This is something that it was released as like feature length kind of thing. And it adds a little bit of extra, like kind of like uniqueness to the ranking. Um, yeah. So I decided to include it just for the sake. If y'all don't decide to include it whenever y'all talk about the Superman movies, that's fine. I completely understand. Same with the documentaries. Um, but yeah, overall, it does enough for what a Superman musical is. But for being a Superman musical, there were far too many times that I was more bored than I was engaged. And when you tell me Superman musical, that's pretty simple. Let me know what y'all thought down below in the comment section of it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, the musical. By any chance, did any of y'all happen to ever see a version of the 1966 Broadway version? Have you seen the 2018 version? Um, I think that I could, if there's interest, I believe that the 2018 version is online on YouTube. If you guys would have any interest in seeing coverage of that version of this story, let me know in the comment section below, and I will put it into consideration. Uh, because I believe you can watch the full thing. You can watch the full musical in its entirety on YouTube. But yeah, just let me know down below in the comment section below what you think of the 1975 version. Did you enjoy it? What do you think of Leslie Ann Warren as this version of Lois Lane? Do you agree with my thoughts regarding this Superman? Of like, do you think that he is a little bit too overconfident and mixed with whiny, kind of like just annoying? Or did you actually find anything enjoyable about him? Did you like any musical segments in this? Um, did you enjoy, or like what level of enjoyability did you get out of the villains themselves? Would love to hear what y'all think down below in the section below. And talk to you later.